Hello, and welcome to Conversations here on NTA Network. Now, you know what Conversations is all about. It's about you and me and issues that affect us. We have an interesting topic for you. You don't want to miss it. But first, let's meet our guests.
Okay, my name is Dr. Rose Maxwell Gidado. I'm the Country Coordinator, Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology in Africa, Nigeria chapter. What we do, we correct misconceptions about genetically modified organisms. For better understanding, we provide scientific facts about genetically modified organisms to all sectors, in the society, civil society groups, policymakers, lawmakers, farmers, just for informed, decision making.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our guest?
My name is Timmy Coker. I am an independent television and film producer based in the U.S.
Okay, fantastic. So today we're talking about genetically modified foods. In particular, we're talking about foods today. And there has been so much misconception about it. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it good for our bodies? Some people say it's not. And so Doctor is here to spread awareness or to inform us on exactly what it entails. What is genetically modified food?
Genetically modified foods are foods, that have been, produced from those crops that are genetically modified. And when you say genetically modified, the genes of those crops have been, somehow altered with just to provide traits, desirable traits, to make the plants produce more, give you more yield, and then to also take care of diseases, plant diseases, to make them either tolerant to diseases, to make them to be able to resist insects, insect pests.
Yes.
Yeah, when farmers are cultivating crops, the invasion of insects could devoid the farmer of any yield at all. Sometimes 80 to 90%, it could be 100%. But we know the problems we're actually facing. Is to complement the conventional farming. It's actually not to take over the conventional farming.
Okay.
It solves some of the problems that cannot be solved by conventional means of farming, and to make the farmer, of course, be able to realize the yields. Over here in Africa, most of our farmers are peasant farmers. They go to the farm, till the soil, cultivate, but they end up very low yields. That's what we have been experiencing.
Okay.
And so breeders, scientists, they all got together. How do we alleviate the suffering of the farmer, especially around here, where the food that we produce is not enough for us? Our productivity in Africa is between 1% to 3%.
Okay.
So the farmers have been enslaved into subsistence farming, in just small piece of land, and then they don't have much, harvest much. So most of our food are being imported. So how do we use technology? Discovering genes, the DNA. The DNA was discovered in 1950. And, when scientists realized that the DNA has genes in them that control our lives. Yes. And what? So based on the understanding of that, when they discovered it, and they now said, okay, let's see how we can attack some of these problems from the genetic level.
Okay.
So it's actually meant for the comfort of mankind, convenience of mankind, to provide more food, better medicines.
Okay.
For us. And it's only done where the conventional technology cannot, it's to complement. And you can't even finish a genetic modification process without bringing in the conventional technology.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand. If I cannot use my traditional methods to solve this problem, farmers resorted to spraying chemicals, a lot of chemicals, before they realize any yields.
Okay.
And how long can we continue to engage in chemical use and what in the environment? And you know what it does? It contributes to this climate change, yes, this global warming,
yes,
the accumulation of the chemicals. And as the farmer is spraying, he inhales it.
Yes.
So
that
his
poses
health
a risk
is a lot of risk.
Yes.
Risk to the environment, risk to the farmer's health. And some of these chemicals, when it rains, they all go down to the river. You know, the use of chemical fertilizer, the use of... So there are so many, we're contending with so many
So many
problems.
things.
So many things. The global warming is actually caused by our activities.
Okay.
Activities of man. Agriculture contributes 30% to that, agricultural activity. Urbanization is there. So there are so many issues. So we have to use science, you know, science and technology. And we know that science is evidence-based. You know, is a collection of facts. It tells you the truth. Whatever experiment you do here, do it anywhere. It gives you the same result. Everything we do is based on science.
Dr. Rose, I'm very interested on how you break this down to the farmers, how you break down, you know, genetic science and informing the farmers. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce our guest who's joining us virtually from Owerri, Professor Njemaze.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir, and welcome to Conversations. Professor Njemaze from Owerri. Hello, sir. Okay. All right, so we'll be taking our first feature and then we'll connect back with Professor and he'll tell us his thoughts on genetic.
At the base of Maslow's hierarchy of man's need is food. Man needs food to gain energy, to stay healthy, and to achieve total body equilibrium. However, as rural-urban migration surges, farming suffers. The need for food remains on the increase. To augment this, experts introduced genetically modifying organisms in agriculture. A lot of thoughts and literature abound on the GMOs, but do we really understand what it is?
So essentially, when we talk about genetically modified organisms, you are talking about organisms that have a section of their gene either changed by insertion or deletion using what we usually call gene cloning techniques.
Are there different approaches to genetically modifying crops and animals?
Locally we use crossbreeding. In crossbreeding, you're also helping organisms to exchange better genes. For instance, I'm short. I married a taller man. I expect to have children that are slightly taller. Okay? But not all issues surrounding food production can be solved by this crossbreeding.
One may ask, what crops in particular are, as at today, genetically modified, especially in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, the only crops that have received approval is the pest-resistant cowpea and the pest-resistant cotton. No other crop. GMO cassava for Nigeria has gone to field trials but has not been released into the markets.
Should we worry about buying and consuming these produce?
A lot of fears about GMOs are largely unfounded. The truth is that if we must feed Africa and if we must achieve food safety for all, for certain crops, we would need to depend on some form of genetic modification to ensure increased yield and better preservation in our post-harvest storage system to ensure that we have more food for Africa. And I think that should be encouraged by all.
Are there side effects?
In most instances, when we opt for genetic modification, it does not depreciate the value of the food or organism. Most of the time, it's aimed at improvement. I don't have too many fears about GMOs because of what I know. But the issue is that we always will say, be on the safe side. If you can afford organics, go for organics. But we must also feed the poor.
There you have it. More information on genetically modified foods. Now, from Owerri, we have Professor Njemaze. If you can hear us, Professor, how are you, sir? Professor Njemaze is representing the Institute of. Sir, can you hear us? Sir, can you hear us? Sir, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
I can
sir.
hear you.
Maybe you just do a brief introduction of yourself so that we know exactly who you are and what you do.
Yes. If I got your question correctly, the issue is my view on the GMO. The GMO does not increase crop yield. This was proven by the United States Department of Agriculture and studies done on GMO corn in Europe. So it is a fallacy that GMO will increase crop yield. Now, GMO does not reduce the use of pesticides. In fact, the data shows that GMO would increase the use of pesticides. Why? Because the pests will become resistant to some of these things, like the bacteria thuringiensis, which is being used in our cowpea. The cowpea, the pod borer resistant cowpea, which they are purporting that they produced in Nigeria, is going to be resistant. And once it's resistant, you have to use even a greater amount of pesticide. So it's a fallacy to say that it will reduce pesticide use. And one thing is, you can't even export any of these products, because if you have 1% contamination with GMO, most of the countries ban it. It's banned in Russia, it's banned in the European Union, it's banned in the United States. So where are you going to export? So we make the poison and we have to eat it. So it is not correct. And worst of all, once you have genetically modified organisms food, you will see that the experience in Europe, in Italy, in Hungary, and elsewhere, where they have banned GMOs, is that you are actually trying to sacrifice your food security to the companies who make the GMOs. So what will happen is that if they capture the food security by being the ones to supply the seeds, because the seeds, they don't replicate, so they have to be supplying it each time. It will cost Nigeria close to 60 billion should we change our seeds to GMO. And what does that mean? That means that they will try, in order to capture this market, they will try to eliminate all natural seed producers and the fuel violence against these natural seed producers. And this is exactly what we are seeing in Nigeria. If you look at the scenario of the violence that is growing in Nigeria, it is directly linked to the introduction of GMOs, because the companies want to eliminate the natural seed growers in their communities. That's why they concentrated in the Northwest. That's why they went to the North Central. Now they've gone to the Northeast and now going to the Southwest. If you look at the data, 37,500 people were killed between 2015 and 2018. Out of that, you have 32,000 were Muslims, 5,500 were Christians. Does it look like any Islamic terrorism when they will kill 85% of their own people? It's not possible. The people that are being killed are exactly those people who produce natural seeds in their communities. So the whole program by those who produce the GMO, the companies behind it, is to eliminate all natural seed growers and then drive them, the farmers, into IDP camps and now distribute the GMO seeds as improved seedlings. And when they distribute this and the farmers will plant it, then we have sacrificed our food security. So this is very detrimental. In fact, if you watch the program in Italy and in Hungary, their prime minister went to the field to burn these GMOs. The only solution to Nigeria's food security and national security is to ban GMOs completely. It does not yield any increase in our food production. All what you're going to have are cancerogens. The cancer is on the increase everywhere in this country and around Africa since the implementation of some of the GMOs, allowing the importation. They are saying they have not licensed the products, but it will be too late, because once anybody starts planting GMOs around the farms, all the farms, because of cross-pollination, will get the genes transferred to them. So even though you are planting the GMO in one place, it is also spreading all around, even to other crops that you didn't intend to do any modifications.
Thank you very much, sir, for your
pollinators, that's the insects, are transferring these things to other products. So this is a detrimental development. It's not helping matters, and we have to address it very urgently from the national security objective and make sure.
I would like Dr. Rose to respond to some of the things that have been said. I know he said quite a bit concerning that it doesn't increase production. So could you just tell us what your thoughts are?
Oh, okay. I think everything Professor Njemaze said are all fallacies. They're not facts. Why? He said that it does not increase yield. I remember what he said, exactly what he said. Okay, yeah. What it does, if I am not getting yield because of insects, isn't it? Okay, if I take care, I put in a trait that will be resistant to the insect destruction. So what am I doing? The yield, supposing I'm a farmer, the yield I was not getting before, because of the insect infestation, I will not get it, isn't it?
True.
It's actually hybridization. You know, once that problem has been taken away, I can now get my full harvest. That's just what we're trying to see.
So you're saying it's not going to be a bigger yield, but a better yield,
a better
quality.
Better quality, yes.
I understand.
Quality is there.
Okay.
And the insect, that was preventing me from getting that yield because of the infestation. The infestation causes diseases. And then it makes, the quality of your produce, very low. You remember when our beans was exported and rejected and what? It's all because of this residual chemical use. So, like, let me give an example with the cowpea that farmers are now producing that was developed by our scientists in Nigeria. The farmers you can go and verify. Go to any farmer that cultivated the cowpea. The story is good. The story is exciting. The farmers are getting that yield which they had yearned for. And then the number of sprays reduced from 8 sprays down to 2. Some farmers don't even spray. Okay. The cowpea was actually developed to resist one insect. And that insect is Maruca vitrata. Maruca vitrata is a butterfly. Okay. It's the larva of that butterfly. When you plant your cowpea and, it sprouts, germinates, begins to form leaves and flowers and what. That larva destroys the leaves, destroys the flower, destroys the pods. Even when the pods are formed and what, it burrows into the pods and then destroys your seeds. And that's why sometimes when you go to the market and you're going to buy, beans or what, you will see a lot of, defects. Some of the grains have a lot of defects in that, and it's because of those insects. So, and that's Maruca is not the only insect that destroys cowpea, but it's the insect that actually causes the most ravaging damage. Okay. Farmers could lose 90%, 80 to 90% of what they produce. So if that is taken away, you have at least your yields, even if not all, 20, 30% increase in yield. We're not saying it's a panacea. Okay. We're not saying it's everything. But it's you're taking that small problem away. So, and then the number of sprays that reduced from 8 down to 2. Those 2 sprays, this is practical. This is evidence-based. Those 2 sprays are only meant for those insects that are outside the family of Maruca. Okay. And then we have a stewardship plan. If you're planting you've planted BT, you can also plant the non-BT so that the pressure of insects does not get so much. You have to give something to Maruca. You have developed Maruca. Your plan to resist Maruca. Okay, so is when that is like the stewardship plan that what we advise the farmers to do, and even any other person that's planting. there's no way, you plant the cowpea alone, the BT. You have to do some kind of refugia, you know, to reduce the pressure of the insects, that's the Maruca insect, on your distance. Other insects will still be there.
Yes,
but
I understand that.
But my main concern is if even the insects do not even want to, should I say, attack these genetically modified products.
Yeah.
Why should the audience, or should I say the people, want to consume this? Because even the insects do not even want to consume it. Because that's what's, there are things being sprayed on it or being, it's been genetically modified that even the insects don't even want to approach it or touch it.
No, insect do. I don't know if you live in Abuja during the rainy season, if you can come to our office and see, because we do demonstration plots for people to come and see, for media to see. Seeing is believing. When you see, all those, other misinformation or misconceptions will be eroded. Because when you see them practically, all insects are there.
Okay.
The Maruca is also there.
Okay.
But just that the Maruca cannot, because there's something that repels it. So Maruca can now go feed on the non-BT. That is to reduce the pressure of Maruca, on your own beans, which you have modified to resist the Maruca.
Okay, so there are things that actually are sprayed on it to repel it.
To repel.
How safe is that for us to
It's
consume?
very safe because the gods, I don't want to go into real science. That Bacillus thuringiensis gene, you pick the gene and then incorporate it into your, it's done, this is like real science and what. So that gene expresses that insecticidal property, of the Bacillus thuringiensis. And that Bacillus thuringiensis had been in use for many years, even before the GMO thing, came into being. So farmers used to actually mix it in water and spray. But the spray, if you spray your farm now, because you're spraying to keep the insects away, then your spray can also destroy all insects. It's non-target, every insect within that, and that also affects biodiversity because you're killing many insects at the same time. Yes. But the GM is selective, targeted at those insects, and even those certain insects, yes, because that's why you have to plant non-BT around your farm, so that those insects can also have something to go and feed on. It's, I don't know. So do you understand? So the questions are just too many,
No, I understand. I appreciate you taking the time to
so that is, those refugia, this thing, is to make even the Maruca, not to really kill it, but if Maruca cannot eat my own cowpea, it can go and eat the non-BT. That is, very close to mine.
In terms of defects that you mentioned earlier, for myself and Tammy that go to the market or supermarket, we tend to pick the bunch of vegetables that are clean, the shiny apple, the F4 that is shiny or green, nice and green. But Tammy, would you pick the vegetables that aren't as bright and shiny if they were organic versus the ones that are looking so lush?
I would.
Really?
And I think, yes, because, I know they keep saying that, GMO is cheaper and people would always buy cheaper.
Yes.
But even when you look at the research in the US, people are now leaning towards more organic foods. So they're willing to pay the extra cost. If we look at organic foods, if we just think even in the market exchange, you have things that cost $1,200 if it's GMO, and it will cost you $1,800 if it's organic. So, but at the same time, you have to wonder what you're putting into your body.
True.
So for me, if you have the money, you pay the extra, you might buy less.
Okay, but you're talking about the US where labeling is very important.
Exactly.
Now, let's take this apple here. How do I know, Ma? How do
we
I know
know,
if this is genetically modified or not?
How do you know? It's not labeled, so there's no way you can know that it's genetically modified. But I tell you, most apples are hybrids. Is actually, when you're talking about yields, it's hybrid technology that gives yield. Okay. Genetic modification only gives you quality. It does not, it only gives you quality.
So I can't know.
But it's not, there's no way you can know. When you see some people, when they see fruits that are big in size, they misconceive them to be GMOs. It's
Yes.
not.
Yes.
It's hybrids.
Okay.
And of course, you know, the hybrid is a combination of two.
Yes.
You know, the one that maybe does not give you it's not very big or what, and then the smaller one, you put them together, you get, you know, a better size and what. So hybridization is for size increment, yield, and all those things. But genetic modification gives you quality. It takes care of those things that, you know, you cannot actually, you know, achieve in conventional technology.
I understand that.
And then yours, the organic
Yes.
agriculture is can I say organic is an agronomic practice. It is not a tool. It's an agronomic practice, and that's it. And you can actually organically grow a GM crop.
I understand that, but sometimes
You
you
can
know
do it.
you
It's
see
an
in the
agronomic
movies.
practice. It's not a tool.
You see in the movies where a watermelon
GM,
is sliced open and you don't
yeah.
see the seeds, and in my mind I'm like,
I don't know
So,
about that
I don't know about
exactly.
this.
So GM, you know, GM technology is a tool. It's a tool of science. But you know, your organic is actually an agronomic practice, just to maybe add some yield, you know, to your maybe color, brighten the color and what, and those kind of things, and that's it. It's not a science. It's not real.
But when
I
they
mean,
look, when you
so
think
it's
or
a
you look
practice.
into,
so you can't compare. There's even no basis for comparison
But when-
between organic agriculture. No.
so Tammy, are you anti?
people
I'm
no.
anti-GMO because
It's an agronomic practice. We also promote it. Yeah.
No, because when you talk about organic, at least when you look at the definition of organic, it means that it's being grown without artificial DNA or anything being added to it. That is
It's
why.
an agronomic practice. Keeping, you know, the insects away, maybe in a screen house and what. That is it. You're keeping them away using. But it's just that not every farmer can afford, you know, those greenhouses.
longer.
Do you understand those greenhouses? They're very expensive. So a poor farmer, how does he do it? You know, and that is why we're making it simpler for the farmer. We improve. The government provides research funds, isn't it, for them to, you know, use that technology to improve your crops. And then the farmer is not. He doesn't have to bother himself about all these scientific processes. He just gets the end product. You give him the seed, he buys the seed, and that is it. And the seed already has that thing, the traits, the desired trait that will give the farmer, make that crop to be high yielding, high yielding in the form of quality, you know. You've taken the problem away. So the farmer plants it and sees that, yes, what you have given him. And you know that the farmer is a practical person.
Yes.
The farmer will not take anything new if he does not see it practically on his farm. So what is usually done is, but at the end of the research, you know, and approval must be given by the National Variety Release Committee of every country. And before that NVRC gives their approval, you have to carry out demonstration trials.
Okay.
On farmers'
Who gives the approval here in Nigeria, though?
We have a National Varietal Release Committee.
Okay.
That is actually hosted by the National Center for Genetic Resources.
Okay.
Based in Ibadan. You know, that's where the Varietal Release Committee is a national committee.
Okay.
Comprises of experts, breeders, you know, agronomists, all of them, you know, together. It's a national thing.
Okay.
I do have a question, because I think you raised an interesting point that the government is, you know, willing to give money in order to research,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
for GMO. But
Yeah.
what about them providing money and funds for these local farmers to be able to have those screens, you know, in order if people want to eat more
Purely
organically
organic,
food?
yes.
Like it causes me to question that, because why is it that we're leaning more into genetically modified foods when we think about DNA that they get these genetics from to do GMO foods? We talk about insects, we talk about bacteria, we talk about viruses, we talk about animals, and also humans. But it's like, these are the things that they're using in order to create these products that are supposed to be good for us. So it creates concern for me as like a representative of the general public. How can I guarantee that this is safe for me? Especially when you have rising cancer and, you know, diseases that are forming.
Okay. You're talking about issue of safety.
Yes.
It takes, because of safety, scientists are responsible people, they're also part of the consumers of these products. There's no way you can develop a product and you won't be part of the consumers, isn't it? Okay, it takes 10 to 13 years to come out with a safe and a wholesome genetically modified crop. It takes many years because of the issues of regulation. The best is regulation, and the regulation is taken very seriously. I mean, there's safety in that, and most countries, the developed countries, the US, the Canada, China, all those countries that are food secure today, they adopted this technology, and safety is never compromised. So within that 13 years, after you have developed and you have you have a proof of concept, you go into the development process and what. So at the end of the day, if you have the product, you now have to carry out safety evaluations.
Okay.
So that's where the issue of safety comes in.
Okay.
Safety evaluations for so many things: safety to the environment, safety for feed, for use as feed, for use as food, and then those things, the way drugs are developed, and those safety standards are progressively reviewed, progressively developed by WHO, that's World Health Organization, by FAO, by OECD, by all those international regulatory bodies. They have, they are actually the ones who set those standards, and all countries also key into that and also develop their own, based on your. So in Nigeria, we have the National Biosafety Management Agency.
Okay.
It's a regulatory agency. Yes. So we have that regulatory framework in place in Nigeria to ensure that all the genetically modified crops, products, foods, and what, either brought into Nigeria through the grocery stores and what, you have to go through that agency. You're not allowed to even import any GM without that agency's.
Professor
so
Njamanze's
issue of safety is actually being taken care of.
Yeah, I would like to hear Professor Njamanze's opinion on what he's been listening to so far in the conversations room. Professor, sir, what are your thoughts on what we've talked about so far? Watermelons.
I couldn't get your question very clearly, but I have been following the conversation of the ladies in the studio. One issue is the issue of safety, which is very important. The Bt turigensis, that's the bacteria turigensis, which is inserted into our cowpea, has been proven to cause cancer. This is different works, you can Google it, it's very, very much available. It causes blood dyscrasia and can lead to blood cancer. It has been demonstrated. It has been demonstrated to cause infertility in even model rats. So the evidence is overwhelming that this is dangerous. The issue is not that you have food, but poison is not food. GMO poisons are not food, because when you have, it's going to cost us lives and millions of lives, because everybody needs food. So, and those countries will they want to come to Africa and buy organic food. And they are ready to sell it 3 times the price any genetically modified food will be sold. So if it is about making agricultural productivity, we will gain a lot by maintaining our organic foods, not the GMOs. The GMOs are proven poison scientifically. Even any ordinary person can Google and see the effects of GMO on organs of people. So the fact that they have found a new marketplace in Africa and want to generate this will not improve the nutritional status of Africa. It will not improve agricultural productivity. It will not improve even the safety. And as I have said before, and I repeat authoritatively, that the introduction of GMOs in Africa, in Nigeria, is what is fueling violence against farmers in all the localities. And this is so dangerous that if we allow this to continue, we will have our entire food security wiped out. And we have to take a back seat and look at what is really going on here. And they would not take any export from Africa, even if it has 1% contamination with GMO. Why is that? Because they know better. If you produce the poison, you eat it in your country. And that's why almost all the exports of agricultural products into the EU from Nigeria are banned, because we're already having contamination, because we use the glyphosate insecticide, which is used for GMOs. Farmers are already using that, and on other chemicals which we shouldn't use. We have our natural knowledge systems which we have refused to explore and develop, because these natural knowledge systems are safe and they produce better crops and they even have better yield. But we have to support the farmers. There is totally no infrastructure to communities. Even if you introduce GMOs, will that make the roads better? Will that produce water? Will that get electricity to these communities? No. That is what is lacking, the infrastructure, not the GMO or the crop. What you're going to achieve with this is just to sacrifice our entire food security. And they are going to, once they control our seeds, they control the food. And once they control the food, they control the politics.
Okay,
and
Professor
this is exactly what is happening in our country. And it's better for every Nigerian, and in particular the leaders, to take a backseat. Since the introduction of GMOs, we have seen a skyrocketing level of violence in all our communities. In the north, because it is the food basket of the country. 70% of the food production comes from the northeast, north-central area, and that's why they have concentrated on eliminating the farmers in these areas. And then they are now expanding and coming to the south, southwest, and then to the northeast.
Okay,
and
Professor,
this is what is happening. Who are they attacking? The question are those people who produce natural foods, and they want to eliminate them, so we will only depend on the GMOs.
Yes, sir.
And of course, they have their support system in the country, which is very unfortunate. And I think every Nigerian should charge the National Assembly to ban GMOs.
Okay, Professor, I know you've done a lot of
totally
research
reform the
on
Biosafety
this topic,
Act and actually make sure that we even stop all importation.
I would like to know if you've interacted with anyone personally that has been affected by GMO. Sir, I know you've done a lot of research on genetically modified foods. Have you interacted with anyone on a personal level that has been affected negatively by GMO foods?
Is the question to me, if it is?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there is medical evidence for that. And it's all in literature. And I welcome all our listeners to actually Google the effects of GMOs on the human body. And they will see a ton of research works, those written in scientific terms and those written generally. So there is no doubt that there are very deleterious effects of GMOs on the human organism. The fact that the GMO is only useful to the companies who produce the seeds because it yields them money and gives them tremendous power. That it is healthy to anybody, I doubt that. And this has been proven over and over. That's why the European Union has its own attitude to GMOs, and they can only use it and allow some feeds to use GMOs. They generally ban it. In America, the attitudes have been very skeptical. We should take a back seat and change the attitude towards GMOs. And trying to indigenize the production of the GMO seeds is also not in our best interest. We can do
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I know, Doctor, you'd like to respond. We don't have as much time, so I'd like you to just respond because I have a question for you concerning informing the farmers and getting them on board.
All right. All that he said were not facts. They're not scientifically based. They're all ideology, not really. So he said EU. He talked about the EU. Let me tell you today, America has been using GM crops, I mean GM foods and what, for the past, is it 27 years? Since 1996 till date.
Okay.
South Africa in Africa here has been using it, and that's what fits them in
Okay.
South Africa, you know, because it's a drought-prone area, and they can't do without a drought-tolerant this thing.
Okay.
So that is two. EU is the largest market for US on GM. They import GM soy, they import GM maize to the tune of $9 billion every year. And this is factual.
Okay.
Okay. Then two, fueling violence in Nigeria. Is it the scientists that are fueling violence? How can someone say that the GM technology is what is fueling violence against farmers or fueling violence in Nigeria? That is a big fallacy. That is
Okay.
not true. Scientists cannot do
Oh,
that.
we have
That all those fights and what are politically motivated. It has nothing to do with technology.
Okay.
There's nothing like that that exists.
There was a comment that came in that said that that's asking if, as an advocate for GM foods, that do you yourself patronize such foods? That's what came in.
In fact, I cook GM beans in my house every day. Every week, I must either eat moi moi or the boiled beans or eat it with rice and beans. My husband eats it. My family eats it. I eat it. And it's very, very nice. And I think in 2 weeks' time, or in April, we're going to have, I will invite you, Eating is Believing.
Eating is believing.
Yes.
Okay.
We did Eating is Believing in Lagos.
Okay.
Farmers were there, and they ate and they tested, and many of them, you know, are crying out for disease. I tell you, there's no difference.
I know Tammy is
We have what
wondering,
we call substantial equivalence. Once you're ready with your product, that your product must be substantially equivalent in all ramifications with the conventional counterpart of what you have come up with. Without that, your product will not see the light of the day at any point, because all the assessments, the evaluations that take place, they carry them out, you know, alongside with the conventional counterparts of those crops. Safety is never compromised.
Okay.
There's no report of any ill health in US. And what Njemanze was saying, there's nothing like that he says he has a proof. I'm eating this, I'm healthy, my family is healthy. And all friends that have cultivated, all of them are eating, and everybody's giving testimony about this. So there's really nothing. And then we have many EU countries that are into GM crops. We have England has come into it, Belgium, Portugal, Spain, you know, Slovakia. We have so many, Romania.
But France has banned it.
Yeah.
It's banned in France. And, you know, I just have to recollect, like, when I go see my doctor, and every time I see my doctor, they always push for eating organically. But I understand because of the population
Even
and
has problem.
no, but,
It
but
has problem.
in terms of
with bacteria, it has problem. I want to tell you that organic has problem. It's heavily laden with bacteria. Heavily. We have cases. I can cite them. Heavily laden with bacteria. So there's no, I mean, everything has challenges, you know. In life, that's how
that's
it
a
is.
big point.
It's just that you have to weigh, you know.
And we have to eat.
Yeah.
I know,
Balances.
and exactly
Yeah.
because of population, and I
yeah,
can
population
see
is-
why,
yeah.
you know, the world will
Yeah.
be trying to move
Yeah.
towards GMO, because we have
Yeah.
to be able to cultivate all these
Yeah.
products at a quick rate. But I think that that's why it's being pushed. But the question is, I've always just felt that if you can, I would like to eat the way we were eating.
Organic is not
way
regulated.
back in the-
Organic
exactly,
is
why
not, they are
back
not
in the days.
regulated. Our foods are highly regulated, I tell you.
Okay.
Highly
We have another,
regulated.
message
You have
that
to
came
ensure
in.
there is safety.
It
And
says-
regulation is the key in science.
Both speakers have expressed their position strongly. I've just. Okay. Both speakers have expressed their position strongly. Dr. Gedado is speaking on the advantages of GMO on a micro level, which every farmer is happy about. At a macro level, it will show that what Professor Njemanze has submitted is fact, and that's from Olaide in Abuja. So what Olaide is saying is that this is okay on a small level rather than on a national level. Do you agree?
What the GM?
Yes.
It's okay on the national level. Yeah,
is.
fine, it's okay. Because you look at it, I mean, the problems in the country is food security. We don't have food security. How do we achieve it? We have to do a combination. Not just one technology can achieve that. Not just one thing can achieve that. A combination of all technologies, all approaches that we can use. We have to use it. We have urbanization taking of the land. Our soil infertility is on the increase because of urbanization, industrialization. Then population growth is another thing. Drought, flood, disasters, oil spillage in the south, in the southeast. We have gully erosion. We are contending with so many issues. If I can, in a small piece of land, grow so much, why can't I go in for it? Grow so much. Because if the quality of the seed, I mean, farming is about having harvestable yield. And you can't have that strong harvestable yield without quality seed. The seeds must be improved. And once the seed is improved, it can actually withstand any other weather condition, either the drought, resilient seeds. We're talking about seeds that are resilient, seeds that are climate smart. And it's only this technology that can give you that. So we're contending with so many. And because it's highly regulated, issue of safety is taken care of by that regulation. Nobody will want to eat and die.
Yeah, but
Then we will eventually die. Then nobody will want to die because of
we
food
think
poison
about,
or worse.
how lifespan of humankind has quite been reducing over
we
the
know,
decades.
there's so many things.
So can we not accredit that, to our food?
See, we have gene therapy. You can actually use this technology to remove toxins from our natural foods. You believe with me that cassava has cyanide. Groundnut has aflatoxin. Maize has aflatoxin. These are natural. So what can you say about that?
Okay.
Is this
So what
technology
you're
that you
saying-
can actually use to take off cyanide from cassava? Is the technology you can use to remove aflatoxin from maize?
Is that being done though?
It's being
good
done. Yeah. You can do
That's good
anything with
information to know.
DNA. Once you have the knowledge of DNA, you know where the genes are, and you know who gene is responsible for what. You silence, you remove that gene that is making your crop to be susceptible to insect attack or to drought or to, you can use it.
But
But as you're using it, you use it with caution. You use it
we-
with regulation. You have to ensure that there's safety at the end of the day.
But is there reason to
So
be cautious
you weigh-
about the source of these DNAs, like, in insects, viruses, because I mentioned that earlier, and even animals. So is there cause a reason for us to be concerned that they are willing to go into those species and different things in order to get the result that they're trying to go for scientifically?
Yeah, for sure.
So we have reason to be concerned.
Well,
Okay, one last question. Just
to be concerned,
one last question that just came in.
To be concerned about what?
It says, Doctor,
Even the
please.
animals, you can use the technology to improve your animals, make them to be, milk producing or beef or what. If you want it for beef, fine. You want it for milk,
No, they
fine.
said the source of the DNA.
Okay, the source of the
Some of the sources of
whether
the
they're
DNA.
from-
Yeah,
okay.
they are. They've been said to be from insects, from viruses, from bacteria. From different things.
Yeah,
So,
Bacillus thuringiensis is
so
from
yeah.
bacteria.
So is there cause or reason for us to feel like we have to get that from those sources, and it's safe for us?
It's very safe for us. Very safe for us. All living things, the DNA is same in all living things. They're all life. Anything that has to do with life, all living things have same, except bacteria. They don't have DNA. It's RNA they have. But every other form of living thing. So you're taking that gene, wherever you're bringing it from, is actually from, an unrelated species, but it's a living organism.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the same from a biological source to biological source.
Okay.
And then, because some people say if DNA is coming from an animal and you eat it, whether you begin to behave
Exactly,
like that, which
exactly.
is not true. But we eat animals. We depend on these things. We depend on insects, animals, and what we eat. So as you're eating the DNA of that. Does it make you to be a cow? Does it make you to? So that is.
I was just going to say that eating isewu and
Eating is and what?
I don't think it has
God
made me.
has put man above every other living creature. And God is the one that gave us that knowledge,
Yes.
you know. So, and that knowledge of DNA actually increases, diversity of genes,
Okay.
of what, there's no barrier anymore. You don't have to do within species. But now, there's a later technology.
Okay.
That's gene editing.
we're-
It's an emerging technology.
we're out of
where
time.
You don't have to take DNA from anywhere. You
Okay.
work within the genome of a plant.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
people are more comfortable
Thank
with
you
that.
so much,
And
Doctor,
that
on
is
your
what is
thoughts
coming
on genetically modified food. Professor Njemaze that joined us in from Owerri. Thank you, Temi, for representing Nigerians and consumers that really want to be informed and have the information at their fingertips on whether or not to take GMO food or non-GMO food. Thank you for coming in. It's been a very exhilarating conversation here in the Conversations Room. I hope to meet you again sometime next week where we bring another topic that benefits you and me. My name is Nika. Thanks for joining us and see you next week.